Michael Ross, born July 26, 1959, in Putman, Connecticut. Ross was born in Putman, Connecticut on July 26, 1959, to Patricia Helen and Dad Ross. He was the oldest of four children, having two younger sisters and a younger brother. The family lived on a chicken farm in Brooklyn, Connecticut. Ross' home was extremely dysfunctional. His mother, who abandoned the family at least once, had been institutionalized and beat all four of her children. Some family and friends have suggested that he was molested by his teenage uncle, who had committed suicide when Ross was 6 years old at the age of 12. Damn. Jesus. Children having sex with children and then they take themselves out. He molested two girls in response to his sexual behavior and curiosity. He was punished by his father beating him. His mother would say he was punished and his father would do the beating. Ross was highly intelligent and performed well in school. He graduated from Kingley High School in Kingley, Connecticut in 1997 and graduated from Cornell University in New York, where he studied economics. In 1981, in May, he became an insurance salesman and also exhibited increasingly antisocial behavior. Michael began stalking women in his sophomore year of college, and in his senior year, he committed his first rape, followed by his first murder soon after. Oh my gosh. Wow. Between 1981 and 1984, Ross murdered eight girls and women between 14 and 25 in Connecticut and New York. On July 6, 1987, in Connecticut, in 2001, oh, he was sentenced to death. Okay, July 6 in 1987. In 2001, while on death row, Ross pleaded guilty to first degree manslaughter for killing Paula Pereira in New York in 1982 and was sentenced to 8 and 1/3 to 25 years in prison. I don't get the 1/3. 8 years, 1/3. They just told him life, baby. That's all they should have told him. He spent 18 years on death row before his execution in May 2005. Ross confessed to all eight murders and was convicted for at least four. He raped seven of his murder victims, who was also alleged to have raped but not killed a 21-year-old woman named Vivian Dobson in 1983. Plainfield police rejected the possibility that Ross had been Dobson's rapist. They did not press charges, and Ross made no confession. Ross was also a suspect in several rapes and murders in Indiana. One possible victim included Candace Ferris, who was vacationing in Indiana when she was taken by gunpoint and raped. She managed to escape and was later found by her friends in a nearby cornfield, distraught and without clothing. She had been driven off with a man that fitted Ross' physical descriptions. Okay, y'all. Trigger warning. These are Michael Ross's victims. Okay. Dzong Nok, Dzung Ngoc, 2, 25, Vietnamese Cornell University student who was abducted from Warren Hall on May 12, 1981. Her body was found in a creek at the bottom of the gorge on May 17th, 1981, close to the university. Two's death was ruled to be a suicide. Michael confessed to her murder during a 1987 session with a psychiatrist, although he was never charged. How? Why would she kill herself? Why? Tammy Williams, 17, abducted from Brooklyn, Connecticut on January 5th, 1982, while she was walking home from her boyfriend's house. She was later found raped and strangled. Paula Piera, 16, abducted from Willie Kill, New York, while hitchhiking on April 2nd, 1982, after Ross picked her up on his way to Connecticut from Cornwall. He raped and dumped her body near Interstate 84. She was found 18 days later. Deborah Smith Taylor, 23, abducted near Danielson, Connecticut on June 15th, 1982, after her vehicle ran out of fuel. She and her husband had split up and went in opposite directions to help. Ross raped and strangled Taylor. A jogger found her skeletal remains approximately 4 months later. Oh my gosh. Why didn't you stay with your husband? That was. Oh my God. Robin Dawn Stavinsky, 19, abducted from Norwich, Connecticut. While hitchhiking on November 19th, 1983, Ross raped and strangled Chavosky in a wooded area on the grounds of Norwich State Hospital. Her body was found a week later. A week later in a hospital? Mm, 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 mm. And nobody saw that rape, and they were in on a hospital. April Bruna, Bruna is and Leslie Shelley, both 14, kidnapped from Grillsworld, Connecticut, while walking home together on April 22nd, 1984. Both girls were taken to Beach Pond in Rhode Island, where he essayed April and strangled both. Michael then put their bodies into his truck and then dumping them in a culvert near Preston, Connecticut. Wendy Barnabilt. I have no idea how to say her last name. I think I just butchered all of it. 17, abducted from Griswold, Connecticut, while walking down Connecticut Route on her way to a convenience store on June 13th, 1984. Wendy was strangled and essayed. Her body was found in a field 2 days later. Witness descriptions led police to Ross. During his incarceration, he met his fiancée, Susan Powers, who broke up with Ross in 2003, but still visited until his death. He became a devout Catholic after his arrest in 1984. During his time in prison, Ross translated documents into Braille, acted as a mentor to another inmates, and financially sponsored a child in the Dominican Republic. Although he opposed the death penalty, Michael strongly supported his own death sentence. In the last year of his life, say that he wanted to spare his victim's family any more pain. According to Kathleen Yeager, a lay minister who visited Michael in prison for prayer, Michael believed that he had been forgiven by God and that he would be going to a better place once he was executed. She said, "He's not being punished, he's moving on to life eternal." That's what is ironic about the death penalty. He's looking forward to the peace. Yeager also said that Michael had come to believe that there was no way his death sentence would be commuted without forcing the victim's families to suffer through more legal hearings, and that he knew his life would be meaningful even behind bars. He's had a horrible life and he's wanted to do good. In spite of this, an hour before the execution, Ross was to take place, In the early hours of January 26, 2005, Ross's lawyer, acting on behalf of Ross's father, obtained a 2-day stay of execution. Ross was then scheduled to die by lethal injection on January 29, 2005 at 2:01 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. However, early in that day, the execution was again postponed because of doubts that Ross was mentally competent, having fought against his death sentence for 17 years. He suddenly waived his right to appeal. His attorney claimed that Michael was incompetent to waive appeals, as he was suffering from death row syndrome in his final days. What? What is death? Yo, death row syndrome? Oh man, they just make anything up. Michael became an apolute or associate of the Benedict Grange, a Catholic monastic community in West Redding, Connecticut. Michael was executed by lethal injection on May 13th, 2005 at Osborne Correctional Institution in Sumner, Connecticut. He was 45 years old. Michael did not request a specialized meal before facing his execution, thereby dining on the regular prison meal of the day: turkey a la king with rice, mixed vegetables, white bread, fruit, and a beverage. When asked if he would like to make a last statement, he said, without opening his eyes, "No, thank you." Michael was pronounced dead at 2:25 a.m. His remains were buried at the Benedict Grange Cemetery in Redding, Connecticut. After the execution, Dr. Stewart, a psychiatrist who had argued that Michael was not competent to waive appeal, received a letter from Michael dated March 10, 2005, which read, "Check and mate. You never had a chance." Michael's execution was the first in Connecticut and in all New England since 1960. It was also the first and only execution in Connecticut, administered by lethal injection. As of June 2020, Michael is the last inmate executed in Connecticut. The death penalty was abolished in Connecticut on April 25th, 2012. Vivian Dobson, when Ross was alleged to have raped, became a vocal opponent of the death penalty in an effort to save Michael's life. The execution of Michael was the first in Connecticut in 2005 and the first execution in Connecticut since 1960. The 22nd execution in the United States in 2005 and the 966th execution in the United States since 1976. Man, that's crazy. His life was full of hurt and pain, but I heard worse. But yeah, I heard victims, you know, saying, hey, don't go through with this. But we don't know if she was really a victim, a rape victim, but hell, who knows? This is what he ate.